Hi everyone, so this video is going to be showing me doing a week of Inktober drawings, but it's actually called JelTober because I'm doing my own prompt list that a lot of other people are joining in on. It's not too late to join in anytime you want. Inktober is a month-long drawing challenge where you draw something in ink every single day. People modify it to suit their own needs, and it's basically just like a way to get you to draw every day. Preferably in ink, but you can use anything you want. There's not really like hard rules. I'm going to be showing you 7 of my Inktober drawings throughout a week. I think day 1 is still my favorite. I think the prompt was jump, so I drew a bunch of frogs because frogs jump. None of them are actually jumping in this. They're like sleeping underneath a giant leaf in a rainstorm, and this one was pretty fun to draw. I decided to use an orange pencil to shade all of my Inktober drawings because I don't want to do them purely in ink. I just want to give myself a little bit more freedom because just doing ink is difficult and I didn't want it to be too hard on myself. In 2019, I just used purely ink for everything and it was a challenge, and I think I learned a lot, but it really was a challenge, and I'm still finding myself challenged this year despite using pencil in all my ink drawings, basically. I just really like pencil crayon. I've been exploring it this year more and more and realizing that it doesn't have to be used the way that I thought it's used, and just like finding my own way to use pencil crayon. I liked drawing this leaf. It was a lot of fun to shade the bottom black because it just gave it that contrast that it needed. It's hard to just be really bold and drop in a very dark area of ink because ink is so permanent and so dark. Like the contrast is huge between the ink and the white paper. But once I did it, I was actually pretty happy with how it looked, and I think it just kind of pulls everything together. I had a lot of fun drawing these chubby little round frogs, and this was just a really nice way to start the week of Inktober. I had it sketched the day before. I'm not showing me sketching any of these because I just wanted to show you the inking process and how I go from sketch to final and every single day, and I'll talk about the ones I don't like and the struggles I've had so far. I'm gonna keep doing this for a month unless I really feel like I can't go on anymore and I get too burnt out. But so far I'm not burnt out. I do find myself not every single day I like, and sometimes I dread posting what I've made because I'm really not happy with it, but I try to take my own advice and just post it anyway if it doesn't bother me that much, because someone might like it, and I actually end up liking the ones that I used to not like once I look at it after not looking at it for a while. Because if you're working on something for so long, you just kind of start to hate it after a while. But I still really like day 1, and I want to turn it into an actual print. I think that would be fun. Day 2 was a snail drawing, and I messed this one up. You'll see 2 different drawings here. This first sketch was the one I messed up. I just started adding way too much ink, which is something I find myself doing if I'm using a really thick inking utensil. I'm using like a felt tip sort of flexible brush pen. I'm not sure, what is it by? It's a Tombow, those like Tombow brush pens. I've used a Tombow brush pen for pretty much all of my Inktober so far. I might experiment with other inking pens. Maybe I'll do a different one each week or each day. But I've been really liking this one, but I also want to go back to using like thin felt tip pens and doing like very fine shading and hatching lines, because I get carried away with this one and everything ends up being really thick, and it's easier to overwork something with such a thick brush. I definitely overworked this first snail. You'll see me switch to a different drawing and I'm much happier with that one, but this snail is just, there's too much ink. It's just too dark. I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I do like the other snail a lot better. And the orange pencil I'm using, I think it's called Pumpkin Orange, and it's a Prismacolor Verithin type of pencil, so it has harder lead. No particular reason. I just grabbed it and it's just been what I've been using. Maybe I should switch colors each week, so every week is a new color. I think that would be kind of fun. it's always fun to draw snails and critters and animals wearing human clothes. I think that's pretty fun to do. It's kind of like one of my favorite things to draw, and whenever I do it, I feel like, oh, this again? Kind of, but I'm also like, but I like drawing it, so is that a bad thing? Like, is it a bad thing to draw the same things over and over, and am I really drawing it over and over, or does it just feel like I am? I'm not really sure. It's hard to tell. But the second day prompt was slime. I think, yes. So, of course, I had to draw a snail, because snails are slimy. And I had a lot of fun with this one, I think. I didn't like it at first, but then it kind of grew on me. I think the shell is a little bit difficult to read, especially with the bag against the shell. It's hard to shade things with ink and like overlap objects that are both shaded with ink without them like sort of visually blending in with each other and kind of looking too similar, and it becomes difficult to tell what's going on. I think readability is the hardest thing for me with ink, because I want to shade things, but I don't want them to lose their form and it to be really difficult to tell what they actually look like. And that's something that I struggled with this one for sure, but I think it turned out okay in the end. And better than the other snail. I'm glad I restarted it, but restarting a big drawing like this, my hand has been a bit sore lately doing all of this Inktober stuff. Because, I don't know, I find inking tends to hurt my hand more than most things, and so does pencil crayons, so when you combine them together, it's like a bad combination. Now, this day I forgot to film the actual drawing, which I'm sad about, but it's called Hide, and it's a tiny little bird hiding in a tree. So that is day 3. And day 4, I forgot to press record at the beginning, which I was like, oh my gosh, not again. But it wasn't really turning out how I wanted anyway. So I tried to redraw it a few times, and I was like, I'm just gonna go back and try to make it work. And I used a gel pen over top of it, which is kind of a nightmare because my Moleskine sketchbook has toned paper and the gel pen is pure white. So when you put it over top of the paper, it looks bluish and it just doesn't work well, but I managed to sort of edit it out when I photographed it, so it looked a bit better. And yeah, I tried to redraw it, and I just thought the redrawing of it didn't really have the energy that I wanted it to have, so I just went back and tried to fix the original one. And eventually I decided to break out the gouache in like a later Inktober drawing, and if you mix gouache with a little bit of the hue of the paper, so I added a little bit of yellow ochre to the gouache, it actually blended in with the paper perfectly, so I'll probably do that going forward. It does take more time to mix the paint. I wish I had a warm white gel pen. I wish that existed. I don't think it exists. It might. If you have like a paint pen that's like an off-white, that would actually be pretty useful for this. This is why I don't like using toned sketchbooks, because it's like the paper is not white. It's like a yellowish color and it's hard to match and cover up. But I guess I'm being like too precious with this. The drawings don't have to be super clean, but that's kind of what I want for this Inktober. I want my drawings to be nice. They don't have to be clean. I just want them to look good. And I kind of feel like a hypocrite because in my other video, I'm like, your drawings don't have to be like amazing. It's just a monthly challenge. But I'm like, I'm showing so many people these drawings and I want to turn some of them into prints, and I really want to get better at drawing things, and I want to level up my skills, and just like, it's exciting to try to make things that look nice, and disheartening when it doesn't turn out the way you want. So it really is like a physical challenge as much as it is a mental challenge doing Inktober, because it's like you're fighting with your internal thoughts of, oh, what is this? This looks so bad. I'm cheating. I'm using white on top of it. I'm using pencil crayon. Oh, this is so similar to everything else I draw. But you're drawing like a full illustration every day. It's not going to be amazing every day. You only like 1 out of 5 of the drawings you do or something like that, or like 1 out of 10, or I don't know what the statistic is, but you're not going to like everything you draw. And I think the biggest problem I've been having with my art lately, and don't get me wrong, I am happy with all the Inktober stuff I've done so far. I think it's just good to talk about, like, you know, it might look like this is super easy to me from the outside, but I do struggle with these a lot, with these drawings and doing sketches. I have pages of sketches for each day. I don't just draw this and like ink it and call it a day. Like I plan them out and do a bunch of sketches and flip back and forth and finally decide on one, and then I might mess it up and restart. But I wanted to show you all of that. Not the sketching, I didn't film that part because I just like to do that off camera. But the problems I've been having with my art is I feel like I'm in that sort of state again where everything I draw feels like not very inspired. Like it feels like I'm just pulling from this mental library of things that I like that I've already done before, and I want to like expand that mental library of things I know how to draw and enjoy drawing, and like the certain like themes and tropes and characters and stuff that I tend to go for. I want to expand that and like broaden it to other things and not just do like, you know, plants or like woodland critters or like things wearing scarves or hats or backpacks or cloaks or whatever. I do love that stuff. And I'm going to keep drawing it, of course, but I want to build on it and just like continue to improve my like mental library of things that I like to draw. That's sort of the existential not existential, but I'm going to call it an existential crisis existing as an artist. And the kinds of stuff you make, it happens to everybody where you're like, am I really drawing? Is this what I want? Is this good? You see other people drawing things that you find more inspiring than the stuff you're drawing, and you're like, I wish I could be that creative. But other people probably look at your art and think that, and wish that they could be as creative as you are. I think the grass is always greener. So it's important to just like have some self-indulgence and draw things that you actually like really like to draw, like guilty pleasure stuff. And I think this day is kind of encapsulates that. It's like a little like anthropomorphized animal creature wearing like a little dress. It's a goat. I like drawing goats. A grass background. And that's like pretty standard and easy for me to draw. But sometimes you just have to do drawings like that, and it's okay. If it's like derivative of your own work and you've like done it a lot in the past, I think it's totally fine to keep drawing that. I get too hung up on like worrying that I'm being stagnant and like reusing ideas, but I don't really think I actually am that much. I just want to be like, I just want to be able to think of different ideas and stop going back to like the same ideas over and over. Like this day, I drew turtles eating things, and I have a sticker pack that looks exactly like this, but I thought, you know what? I'm just going to draw it because it's fun to draw, and I just feel like drawing that today, so I'm going to go for it. And when you just lean into things that you actually feel like doing, it's so much easier, and your art will look better because you're having more fun. It doesn't have to be this big push every single time you draw. And I find when I'm like resisting what I actually want to draw, sometimes my drawings end up looking worse. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. It really just depends on the day, but just let yourself draw what you want to draw. And when you feel like getting better, you can try to get better. I don't really know what I'm saying anymore, but those are kind of like that's kind of like the internal monologue I have when I'm drawing things. I'm like, is this good enough? Have I done this before? I feel like I've drawn this before. I always draw stuff like this. I should really change it up. People are going to get bored or think that I'm like, you know, regressing in my skills, but I know nobody really thinks that. And even if they did, it doesn't really matter because I'm already my own worst critic, and I'm going to think worse things than anyone else will ever think about my art. So it doesn't really matter what other people think. But of course, like I've been on social media for so long posting my art, I want to like please the people that look at it. But most importantly, I want to be happy myself with the things that I'm drawing. And drawing cute little things like this, really simple cute things, makes me happy. So I want to expand like the types of cute things that I draw. And it's also exciting to try to like figure out new subjects and new scenes and techniques and stuff that you want to draw. This whole InkTober has just made me think a lot about that kind of stuff. And I think it all just comes down to needing to sketch more, because I always come up with better ideas when I sketch a lot, and I haven't really been sketching. So it's like you haven't been thinking about about what to draw. Like, when you're sketching, you tend to do a lot of small drawings, like a lot of different drawings. When you do Inktober, you're just doing one drawing. So when you're sketching, you're doing a bunch of like variety of stuff. And then through that, you might figure out some cool ideas that you haven't thought of before. But if you're just doing illustration after illustration, you tend to stick with safe things. And I think that's kind of what's been happening. I haven't really given myself time to explore ideas and to sketch more. So I probably should do that, take time to do that. It might be cool to do an Inktober day where I don't do an illustration, but instead I just fill a sketchbook spread and like ink them and use ink in the spread somehow. I think that would be fun. This last drawing feels very forced to me. I liked drawing it, but I didn't give myself time to make the anatomy work better. And it's a little stiff and I end up overworking it into the ground. Like, it's so overworked. I don't hate it. It's just like, oh, this feels so forced to me and I didn't really enjoy making it. At a certain point, I start to like fight with it. And I think it's really obvious in the footage when I start to fight with it. But I do like the concept and I kind of want to like it would be cool to redo this concept in a different way. I wanted it to be this person wearing a scarf. Because you've seen snake scarves before, like those exist, but I wanted the snake scarf to have all these like little tendrils branching off of it, like little snake heads like branching off of the snake and tails and like swirling around and being sort of like a tornado of snakes. I really like drawing snakes and drawing like a lot of little like serpenty creatures. The prompt for this day was Slither, by the way. The prompt for the bunny girl was floppy ears. And the turtle one, what was the prompt? The turtle one? The prompt was nibble. Yeah, nibble. And the seagull one was shell. So this one is Slither. I was really excited about Slither, but I'm not really happy with what I made. You can tell I'm fighting with it. I don't know if you can tell. I am hard on myself when I'm disappointed in something I've done. Even though I know it's like not a bad drawing, like I don't think that it's bad. It's just, it didn't like bring me joy when I was making it. And when I look at it, I don't feel like happy with it. It just feels like a drawing that I made. I don't really feel like a connection to it. But yeah, there's some compositional issues and like anatomical issues, but I think it was a good like practice to like, I figured out a lot of things that I don't want to do when I'm using ink. Like I kept putting in these really thick, bold lines, and I don't know if that really works for my style. I think it's okay in some areas in this drawing. I realized I should have sketched it more and planned it out more, because when I don't plan things out enough, it takes a lot more work to pull it together into something that I'm actually pleased with. But again, like I don't hate it. I think it's okay for like an Inktober piece, and some people might really like it and some people might see what I see and be like, oh yeah, like you could definitely have taken your time more or like planned it more or like redid the composition. But I think it's fine. Like this is just a challenge you're not going to like every day. I had a lot of fun coloring the hair though, and the stripes on the sleeve are my regret because I messed them up and they just look like, I tried to make them purposely wonky because I messed them up, and then I just like kept like zooming in with my eyes on things and fixing things. But if you see an issue and you work on it too hard, the issue tends to stand out way more than it did before you tried to fix it. So that kind of happened with parts of this. But in this video, I realized I figured out how to mix the color of the paper to cover up ink mistakes. So I'll be using that going forward, where I just use like white gouache and yellow ochre, and you just put a tiny bit of yellow ochre in the gouache and it works so much better than white gel pen. I hope you enjoyed this video, the ramblings of an artist that has done Inktober for a week, and I'm in like a slight style / subject, like subjects that I draw crisis. Not really a crisis, I'm just like, I need to sketch more and just like get ideas flowing again. I don't know if anyone else relates to that, but I tried to express it as best as I could. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I like what I've made so far. I'm very pleased with some of them, and I want to turn them into like little prints or stickers, and I'm excited for the remaining of JelTober if you want to participate with me. Check out my Instagram, the prompt list is there, and you can check out the hashtags and see what everyone else is doing. There's like over 500 drawings now, and it's just honestly, like, thinking about that now, that's actually crazy that 500 people have somehow used my prompts to create like a sketch and a piece of art. That's actually so crazy to me, just thinking about that now. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. If you're doing Inktober or JelTober, let me know, or any other prompt lists you're following, let me know. I hope you are having a good fall, and if it's not fall where you live, I hope the weather is nice, or the season you're in is a nice season so far. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.